The gray dawn settled over Arlington National Cemetery, brushing the marble stones with a chill that hinted at autumn's first breath. Sergeant Michael Reynolds, 28, with cropped blonde hair and piercing blue eyes, stood as still as the monument surrounding him. His army dress blues clung sharply to his broad frame, white gloves gleaming against the cold light, trousers pressed like bayonets. Every detail, every fold and crease reflected his unwavering discipline. His boots clicked softly against the black granite steps of the tomb of the unknown soldier as he executed the measured 21-inch forward march. Each step a silent salute to the soldiers interred below. Rain or shine, sun or snow, Michael's vigilance never faltered. Each turn of the M14 rifle in his hands was deliberate, precise, performed without a whisper. His father, a Vietnam veteran who had passed away 2 years prior, would have called him a true American, someone whose honor needed no words. Today, however, duty took him beyond the cemetery. Major General Harlan Thorpe had tasked him with establishing the Arlington Legacy Fund, a $500,000 trust to repair veterans' headstones and aid families. The documents were neatly tucked in a briefcase, stamped with the Department of Defense seal and signatures from the highest brass. The weight of the mission rested lightly in Michael's shoulder, yet heavily on his conscience. Crossing Constitution Avenue, the city awakened with joggers pounding the pavement and vendors firing up their carts. Michael maintained his focus, observing the routine of civilians who glanced at him with puzzled stares or respectful nods. He had learned that the uniform was a shield for stories it carried, not a costume for show. Entering the Bank of America branch, the contrast was immediate. Chrome and glass replaced granite and foliage. Michael approached teller Lisa Grant, 30-something, dark hair in a tight ponytail, her eyes widening slightly at the sight of his immaculate dress blues. "Good morning, ma'am," he said, his voice calm, steady, resonant with the cadence of Ohio roots and drill discipline. He placed the briefcase on the counter, revealing a meticulous stack of documents detailing the fund. Lisa scanned the top sheet, impressed, muttering, "Wow, Arlington. That's honorable." Before the transaction could proceed, Victor Lang, mid-50s, crisp gray suit, silver-streaked hair, strode over. He appraised Michael like a curious artifact, lips curling in a bureaucratic smirk. "Sergeant Reynolds, tomb guard, huh? Costume party fundraiser?" Lang's words dripped with contempt, gesturing toward the briefcase. "We don't process props for parades." Michael stood firm, eyes forward, hands at ease behind his back. "No, sir. This is official. Arlington Legacy Fund. Authorization included. $500,000 in aid for veterans' families." Lang's voice rose, drawing attention. He belittled the tomb guard service, calling them puppets, and attempted to have security escort Michael out. The lobby fell into hushed whispers, but Michael's composure remained unshaken. He slid a hand into his pocket, thumb on the concealed earpiece, and quietly contacted General Thorpe. The response was terse. "Hold position, Sergeant." Eyes open, mouth shut. Michael nodded internally, recalling Afghanistan lessons. The fiercest fights are sometimes won by standing still. Chaos erupted when the bank alarm tripped, red lights flashing. Customers froze, some panicking. Michael assisted a widow, Evelyn Harper, her cane trembling, guiding her to safety with gentle precision. Through the glass doors, Michael glimpsed black SUVs and the disciplined cadence of 20 soldiers from the old guard. Major General Thorpe led them in. The room flooded with military authority, instantly restoring order. Lang's smirk faltered as Thorpe's voice boomed, confirming federal authority and the legitimacy of Michael's mission. The stage was set for justice, the silent guardian ready to witness the consequences of greed. The Bank of America lobby was thick with tension. Customers froze mid-step, their whispers suspended in the charged air. Michael Reynolds stood like an oak, posture perfect, hands clasped behind his back, eyes unyielding as Victor Lang gestured dismissively at the briefcase. The manager's smirk faltered as he noticed the calm resolve in the tomb. Guards gaze. A steel Michael had honed over tours in Afghanistan and years at Arlington. "Sir, with respect, these documents are verified," Michael said. Voice measured, even. "General Thorpe's orders. DOD approval. The Arlington Legacy Fund is fully legitimate." Lang barked a laugh, loud enough to make customers flinch. "You expect me to believe this? Puppet show funds $500,000? Polishing graves while taxpayers foot the bill." He jabbed a finger, theatrically, near Michael's chest. "Call security. Remove this. Performer." Michael did not flinch. Every muscle remained controlled, his mind recalling the countless drills where flinching was dishonor. Instead, he pressed his thumb against the concealed earpiece, the soft crackle confirming a secure line to General Thorpe. "General Thorpe," Michael whispered. "Minor holdup at the bank. Manager contests documents. Request guidance." A distant, low growl responded through the earpiece. "Hold position, Sergeant. Eyes open, mouth shut. Reinforcements en route." The lobby's atmosphere shifted further as alarms triggered. Red lights flashing, the high-pitched wail cutting across the polished marble. Panic rippled. A mother scooped her toddler, a businessman dropped his briefcase, and elderly customers grasped their canes. Michael moved swiftly to stabilize the most vulnerable, guiding Evelyn Harper, a World War II widow, to a nearby bench. His gloved hand steadied her, voice calm yet authoritative. "Easy, ma'am. Breathe slowly. I've got you." Lang, flustered, sprinted toward the back office, yelling into the phone. "Security. Code red, now." Through the glass facade, Michael noticed the first glint of black SUVs rolling up silently. Boots struck the pavement in synchronized cadence. 20 soldiers from the old guard. Tactical black uniforms replacing the dress blues, rifles low but ready. Major General Harlan Thorpe, chest lined with ribbons, led them in, his expression carved in granite. They moved with efficiency, overwhelming without chaos. "Secure the exits." Thorpe barked. Soldiers fanned out, covering doors and teller lines, cordoning civilians with precision. The alarm was silenced by a tech from Thorpe's detail, overriding Lang's attempts to maintain control. Lang froze, mouth opening and closing like a trapped fish. This is private property. You can't just—" "Major General Harlan Thorpe, 3rd Infantry," Thorpe said, stepping closer. "We are here on federal authority. Sergeant Reynolds represents the United States Army and is performing lawful duties. You will comply." Lang's confidence crumbled as Thorpe's men formed an unyielding wall. At that moment, Lisa Grant, the teller, stepped forward, pale but resolute. "Sir, Mr. Lang has been rerouting veteran funds. Phantom accounts. Millions missing over the past 3 years. I logged every transfer." Thorpe flipped open his folder, revealing spreadsheets, wire logs, and CCTV stills. Lang's face drained of color as evidence confirmed the theft. He sputtered excuses, but the law was swift. FBI agents appeared, badges flashing, arresting Lang and 2 accomplice tellers. The lobby erupted with whispers and cheers. Evelyn Harper's cane thumped emphatically on the marble floor. "You see? That man is no puppet," she cried. "He's guarding honor." Michael, still composed, nodded respectfully to Thorpe. "Just duty, sir. For the unknowns." Thorpe clapped him on the shoulder. "And the known," he added, glancing at Evelyn, whose eyes glistened with gratitude. The legacy fund was now safe, the donations secured, and justice had been delivered. The Bank of America lobby had settled into a fragile calm. Customers clustered in small groups, whispers filling the gaps left by Lang's arrest. Phones recorded every detail, live streams climbing into the hundreds of thousands of views within minutes. Michael Reynolds remained at parade rest, gloved hands clasped behind his back, observing the ebb and flow of tension. His calm presence grounded those around him, a silent testament to discipline honed over years at Arlington and in combat zones. Evelyn Harper, still clutching her cane, managed a shaky smile. "Son, you and your boys. You saved more than just my heart today," she said, voice trembling yet steady. Michael offered a soft nod, the Ohio steadiness in his eyes reassuring her. "It's the uniform, ma'am, not me. I wore it for people like your Harry." Lisa Grant, her face still pale but now determined, approached Michael. "Sergeant, I couldn't stay quiet. Those transfers, the phantom accounts, it was wrong. Thank you for being here." Michael gave a modest nod, acknowledging her courage without breaking his composure. Outside, the black SUVs idled silently while soldiers and FBI agents coordinated the next steps. Michael's thoughts drifted briefly to the tomb, the familiar cadence of his mat marching echoing in his mind. He remembered the early mornings at Arlington, boots polished, rifle at the ready, every step exact, a ritual of respect, honor, and memory. Today, the discipline he had cultivated in that sacred space translated seamlessly to the chaos of the bank. Major General Harlan Thorpe approached, hands clasped behind his back, surveying the scene. "Well done, Sergeant. You held the line, drew the rats into the light, and protected the funds intended for the families of our fallen heroes." His voice was low, authoritative, yet carried the weight of approval that few could earn. Michael saluted, crisp and precise. "Just duty, sir. For the unknowns." Thorpe's gaze shifted briefly to Evelyn. "And the known," he added. She nodded, tears brimming but a smile breaking through. Around them, the soldiers began assisting civilians, offering calm guidance as the bank's alarm systems reset and the last security checks were completed. Michael took a deep breath, allowing himself a moment of relief. The weight of the briefcase, once heavy with papers and responsibility, now felt symbolic, the mission completed, justice done. Phones continued to buzz with alerts. News tickers from CNN and Fox reported the arrest. Hashtags trending about the Sentinel's intervention. A quiet satisfaction settled over him. This was the result of discipline, courage, and restraint. Later, back at Arlington, Michael changed out of his dress blues in the guardroom, the familiar routine comforting after the day's turmoil. His relief shift offered silent nods of respect. Words were unnecessary among brothers who understood the unspoken. As dusk painted the cemetery gold, he resumed his post, rifle heavy in his hands, gloved fingers steady. The mat stretched out before him, a silent testament to those who had fallen. He thought of his father, Vietnam veteran, and the lessons instilled in him: stand tall, fight wisely, and know that not every battle required swinging a fist. Today, Michael had fought by standing, holding the line, allowing truth and justice to march forward. Later that night, over lukewarm coffee in the guardroom, he called his mother. "Mikey, saw the news. You okay? That bank. It's handled." Her voice was warm, tinged with Ohio static. "All good, Ma," he said. "Funds live, $500,000 for the graves and families. Lang's in custody. Phantom accounts crumbled." She laughed, watery but joyful. "Your father would have been proud. Quiet strength always." "Got it, double boy," Michael replied. Today was for him, and for all of them. Hanging up, he gazed at the ceiling, allowing the day's events to settle into memory. In the following months, the Arlington Legacy Fund flourished. Headstones gleamed under fresh care, families received aid, and Lisa Grant managed the branch with newfound purpose. Lang received a 15-year plea deal, his Miami dreams replaced by justice served. Michael, now promoted, trained new recruits, instilling discipline, respect, and the principle that guarding graves meant guarding grace. The Sentinel's legacy, quiet yet unyielding, continued to inspire those who followed. The days following the arrest of Victor Lang and his accomplices brought an unusual rhythm to Michael Reynolds' life. The Arlington Legacy Fund became the topic of conversation in news outlets, boardrooms, and among veterans' families. Michael walked the cemetery paths with a quiet pride, the chill of early morning brushing against his face, the sound of leaves crunching under polished boots, a familiar meditation. Each headstone he passed reminded him why he endured, why precision mattered, and why respect could not be compromised. Inside the Bank of America branch on Constitution Avenue, Lisa Grant worked diligently, restoring the trust of nervous customers. Phones rang off the hook, emails poured in, but she kept her composure. Michael had stopped by briefly, nodding to her from the entrance, an unspoken acknowledgement of courage and resilience. Staff now followed procedures meticulously, inspired by the consequences of negligence. The phantom accounts had been traced, funds restored, and the bank now operated under heightened oversight. Michael often reflected on the fine line between authority and accountability. At Arlington, he had learned that discipline, respect, and silence were as important as action. Today, he saw that principle applied beyond ceremonial duties. He watched as donors received confirmation of their contributions, families of fallen soldiers wrote letters of gratitude, and volunteers gathered to clean headstones and maintain grounds. The fund was not just money. It was legacy, honor, and trust restored. Evelyn Harper stopped by the cemetery, leaning on her cane as she approached Michael during one of his patrols. "Sergeant, look at this," she said, pointing toward a newly polished headstone. "Harry would be proud." Michael gave a small respectful nod, adjusting his gloves. "Ma'am, it's all for them. They deserve it." Her eyes glistened, and she offered a firm handshake, a bond formed through shared reverence for sacrifice and integrity. The press had caught wind of Michael's actions at the bank. Reporters and photographers hovered at a respectful distance, capturing images of the sentinel among the headstones. Michael moved like a shadow among the living and the dead, every step deliberate, every movement honoring the unknowns. For him, heroism wasn't in the headlines. It was in the discipline and respect demonstrated quietly, in actions rather than words. As dusk approached, Michael returned to his quarters, boots removed, uniform neatly folded. His mind wandered to conversations with his father years before, lessons that had instilled patience, restraint, and moral fortitude. Tonight, the cemetery's eternal flame seemed to glow brighter, the wind carrying whispers of gratitude. Each soldier, each civilian, each donor was part of a network of trust, fragile yet resilient. Later, Lisa Grant stopped by to check in with Michael. "The fund's growing faster than expected," she said, handing him a small folder. "Families are writing back. Some even offered volunteer time for maintenance. Your actions, they sparked this." Michael examined the papers, the meticulous details of accounts, letters, and schedules. "It's all for the unknowns," he replied softly. Lisa nodded, understanding that for him, the reward was measured not in recognition, but in honor kept. That night, Michael sat quietly in the guardroom, the muted glow of a single lamp illuminating his face. He dialed his mother's number, the sound of Ohio static greeting him. "Ma, all quiet tonight. The funds are helping families, headstones cleaned, and the bank is secure." Her voice was bright, a mixture of relief and pride. "I knew you'd handle it, Mikey, your dad. He'd be bursting with pride right now." He smiled, the weight of the day lifting slightly. "For him, Ma. And for all of them." Hanging up, he stared at the tomb beyond the window, the mat stretching endlessly, a symbol of unwavering vigilance. The following week, Arlington National Cemetery buzzed with quiet anticipation. Michael Reynolds' actions had begun to ripple far beyond the tombs. Families of fallen soldiers arrived early, carrying flowers and letters. while journalists prepared cameras and microphones to document the growing legacy fund. Despite the media presence, Michael moved with the same composed precision he had always maintained, a sentinel among the living and the dead. His posture unyielding, his gloves spotless. A small ceremony was organized near the eternal flame, where Major General Harlan Thorpe personally addressed the assembled crowd. Michael stood at attention, rifle cradled lightly in his hands, eyes scanning the horizon, every movement deliberate. Thorpe's voice, gruff yet steady, carried across the gathered veterans and their families. Today, we honor not only those who lie beneath this ground, but the guardians who uphold their legacy. Sergeant Reynolds has reminded us that vigilance, honor, and courage are more than words, they are action. Applause rippled through the crowd, some standing, others raising their hands in silent salute. Evelyn Harper, leaning on her cane, beamed proudly as Michael's disciplined movements continued, perfectly timed, each step measured along the sacred path. Children whispered to parents about the real-life hero, their eyes wide with awe. Journalists scribbled notes and captured images, framing a story that would travel far beyond Washington, D.C. After the ceremony, Michael walked among the families, shaking hands, offering nods of respect. Each interaction was deliberate, quiet, yet filled with meaning. He handed envelopes containing the first round of Legacy Fund disbursements to families who had written heartfelt requests for assistance. Tears were shed, laughter mingled with relief. And Michael silently observed, feeling a deep connection to every story. Every sacrifice inside the cemetery offices. Lisa Grant coordinated the next phase of fund management, ensuring every contribution was properly accounted for and every family properly assisted. She glanced at Michael, who was reviewing the fund allocations, his expression steady, mind meticulous. "Sergeant, the donors are asking for updates," she said. "They want to see the impact firsthand." Michael nodded once. "Then we show them. Transparency is part of honor." The news coverage grew, featuring Michael's unwavering discipline, the swift federal intervention at the bank, and the restoration of stolen veteran funds. Social media amplified the story, hashtags trending with phrases like #SentinelJustice and #LegacyFund. Yet Michael remained focused on the tomb, on each step he took along the black granite mat, on the rifle held lightly but securely in his gloved hands. For him, recognition was secondary to duty. The true reward lay in honoring the unknown soldiers and supporting their families. By evening, as the sun dipped behind the distant horizon, casting long shadows over Arlington, Michael returned to his post. The eternal flame flickered gently, a symbolic heartbeat among the graves. He stood sentinel, reflecting on the week's events, the confrontation at the bank, the arrests, the family's gratitude, and the national recognition. Through it all, one lesson remained vivid: integrity. Discipline and honor would always outlast ego, corruption, and cynicism. The following morning, Michael Reynolds rose before dawn, the soft gray light of early autumn filtering through the cemetery's trees. His boots were polished to a mirror shine, gloves immaculate, uniform pressed with meticulous care. The events at the bank, the arrests, and the nationwide attention had done little to alter his routine. For Michael, discipline was not conditional. It was a covenant with the fallen. Each precise step along the black granite mat reminded him that the weight of duty exceeded the weight of accolades. Today's focus was training a group of new recruits. Fresh from basic training, bright-eyed and eager, Michael stood at the head of the mat, rifle cradled lightly, observing as they attempted to mirror his movements. Every pause, every turn, every 21-inch step forward and back was scrutinized. The recruits stumbled at first, their inexperience evident, but Michael's patience was steady and unwavering. "Discipline is not punishment," he instructed, voice calm but resonant. "It is honor given to those who served and those who never returned." The recruits' blue uniforms were crisp but ill-fitted. their gloves slightly loose, rifles heavier than their shoulders anticipated. Michael moved among them, adjusting stances, correcting grips, demonstrating once more with exacting precision. Sweat glistened on their foreheads under the rising sun, yet each movement became a meditation, a ritual binding them to a tradition that began decades before their birth. Meanwhile, Lisa Grant coordinated from a nearby office, sending updates to donors and ensuring that the legacy fund remained transparent and accountable. Michael occasionally glanced toward her, silently acknowledging her efforts. Together, they represented the synergy of military discipline and civilian diligence, bridging a gap that often separated bureaucracy from honor. By mid-morning, Major General Harlan Thorpe arrived to observe the training. His presence was commanding. Every veteran in uniform instinctively straightened, every movement deliberate and respectful. Thorpe's gaze swept the recruits, then settled on Michael. "Your work ensures the legacy is more than words," he said quietly, nodding in approval. Michael responded with a crisp salute, the sound of gloved fingers meeting the brim echoing against the stone. After Thorpe departed, Michael returned to solo patrol. He moved among the headstones, the wind rustling autumn leaves, the distant traffic of Washington, D.C. barely audible. The eternal flame flickered steadily, casting long shadows across the cemetery grounds. Michael paused at each grave, offering silent respect, allowing the moments to imprint on his own sense of purpose. These were more than monuments. They were reminders of sacrifice, duty, and unspoken heroism. As evening approached, Michael convened a short reflection session with the recruits. He spoke of patience, resilience, and the value of composure under pressure. "You may face chaos beyond these walls," he said. "In the real world, not all battles are fought with rifles. Some are fought with discipline, integrity, and courage. Hold your line, and honor will follow." The recruits listened intently, absorbing every word, their expressions a mixture of awe and determination. Michael's lessons were not just tactical. They were moral, guiding the next generation of sentinels in spirit as well as in action. As dusk fell, Michael returned to his post by the eternal flame, the cemetery bathed in golden twilight. The air was crisp, carrying faint scents of fallen leaves and polished stone. He adjusted his gloves, steadied his stance, and gazed across the mat stretching endlessly before him. The day had been rigorous, but the discipline instilled in both himself and his recruits reaffirmed a singular truth: steadfast honor outlasted fleeting recognition. And as the eternal flame flickered in the encroaching darkness, Michael Reynolds remained the sentinel, steadfast, disciplined, and unwavering. The morning air was crisp, carrying a subtle chill as Michael Reynolds patrolled the rows of Arlington. His mind, usually focused on the steps, the rifle, and the ritual, today wandered to memories of his own deployments. Afghanistan, the dust, the distant explosions, the weight of responsibility pressing down like the black granite mat under his boots. Yet here, amidst the orderly rows of headstones, every past failure and triumph blended into a singular purpose: honor. Today, Michael had a special duty. Families had requested private visits with him to hear stories of the soldiers he honored daily. He met with a widow whose husband had fallen in Fallujah, her hands trembling around the bouquet she carried. Michael listened intently, sharing details of ceremonial traditions, silent gestures of respect, and the legacy of vigilance. His blue eyes held a calm reassurance, his gloved hands clasped lightly behind his back as he guided her to a headstone, recounting the sacrifices etched into its marble surface. Later, Michael received a call from Major General Thorpe, an unexpected visit from an old comrade, someone who had served with him in Afghanistan, now in civilian life but carrying the weight of his own regrets. Michael met him at a quiet section of the cemetery, the sun low, casting long shadows across the fallen leaves. They spoke in hushed tones, recounting missions, losses, and the friends who never returned. Michael's posture remained impeccable, yet a subtle tension in his shoulders betrayed the emotions he managed with quiet discipline. "You carry their stories, Mike," his friend said, voice thick. "And you do it better than most could." Michael nodded. The weight of duty intertwined with the solace of connection. As the day progressed, news of the Legacy Fund's impact reached him, families receiving checks, repairs underway on neglected headstones, veterans organizations praising the rapid response. Yet Michael remained at his post, walking the mat, rifle cradled lightly, eyes unwavering. The weight of his father's lessons echoed. Some battles are internal, fought with patience and honor, not with bullets or bravado. Afternoon brought a moment of public recognition. Tourists approached cautiously, aware now of the real-life significance of the Tomb Guard. Michael guided a small group, explaining the silent precision, the meticulous steps, and the symbolism behind each motion. Children listened wide-eyed, parents nodding in understanding. Cameras clicked, journalists whispered. Yet Michael's presence remained steady, almost statue-like, a living monument to integrity and discipline. As dusk fell, Michael retreated to a secluded corner near the eternal flame. The wind rustled through autumn leaves, carrying a hint of smoke from distant ceremonial candles. He reflected on the confrontation with his past, the bank incident, the national attention, and the ongoing duty that defined him. Every step on the black granite mat, every careful rotation of the rifle, every moment of silent vigilance reaffirmed a simple truth. Honor was not inherited. It was earned, maintained, and protected, day after day, step by step. Finally, night settled over Arlington, stars twinkling faintly above. Michael adjusted his gloves, stood at attention, and resumed the slow, deliberate march. The eternal flame flickered in soft golden light, casting a solemn glow over the headstones. In the quiet, Michael whispered a silent promise to the unknown soldiers. To his father and to himself, he would stand, unwavering, through every trial, every recognition, every confrontation with the past, guarding the living memory of those who could no longer stand themselves. The dawn broke with a muted glow over Arlington National Cemetery, the horizon painted in soft pinks and golds. Michael Reynolds stood at the foot of the eternal flame, the weight of his rifle familiar in his gloved hands. Today was not just another day of vigil. It was the culmination of months of effort, the Legacy Fund fully operational, families supported, and the bank embezzlement resolved. But Michael's focus remained unwavering. The dead demanded constancy, and the living deserved respect. Tourists trickled in, cameras clicking softly. But Michael's attention was on the meticulous steps of the mat. Each 21-inch movement forward and back a meditation in itself. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and polished stone. He glanced over his shoulder at the recruits he had trained, now marching in synchronized precision. Their movements echoed his own, a testament to discipline, patience, and the passing of legacy. By mid-morning, Lisa Grant arrived, carrying updates and notes from donors. Michael listened intently, nodding as she detailed the progress. Headstones repaired, families receiving funds, veterans organizations praising the transparent handling. "You did more than guard graves, Sergeant," she said quietly. "You safeguarded honor itself." Michael's response was simple, a nod, his blue eyes steady, yet the gratitude in her expression resonated deeply. Suddenly, the distant hum of traffic shifted as black SUVs approached. Michael's training kicked in instantly. Major General Harlan Thorpe stepped out, flanked by uniformed soldiers and a few FBI agents. Their presence was silent authority incarnate, each movement deliberate, disciplined. Thorpe's gaze met Michael's, a faint smile breaking the stern lines of his face. "Sergeant, the Legacy Fund is live, and the culprits are behind bars," he said. Voice firm, but carrying pride. Michael saluted crisply, the gesture reflecting both humility and accomplishment. The recruits, observing, mirrored the motion, their eyes wide with admiration. Across the cemetery, a few families had gathered, witnessing the ceremonial acknowledgement of duty fulfilled. The combination of discipline, integrity, and action had created a tangible ripple, echoing far beyond the quiet grounds. Afternoon brought a final review of the mat. Michael walked alone, the sun dipping lower, casting long shadows across the granite. Every headstone bore silent witness, and in the soft rustle of autumn leaves, Michael felt the weight of history and responsibility. The eternal flame flickered steadily, a symbol of remembrance, resilience, and the continuity of honor. In the evening, a small ceremony was held for the recruits. Michael addressed them, his voice calm but resonant. "You are the next sentinels. Remember that discipline is your shield, integrity your weapon, and courage your constant companion. The world may test you, but the principles you uphold will guide every step." The recruits nodded solemnly, internalizing each word. For Michael, this was more than training. It was a transfer of ethos, ensuring that the legacy of honor would persist. As night settled over Arlington, Michael returned to his post at the eternal flame. The cemetery was bathed in silver moonlight, shadows dancing across the headstones. The wind carried whispers of the past, soldiers from wars long ended, sacrifices remembered only by those who could keep vigil. Michael's blue eyes reflected the flame's steady glow as he adjusted his gloves and resumed the march. Each step, precise and deliberate, echoed across the hallowed ground. Later, in the quiet of the barracks, Michael called his mother in Ohio. The line crackled softly, but her voice was warm and familiar. "Mikey, I saw the news. The legacy fund is real, and they're all talking about you." Michael smiled, boots propped, feeling the quiet satisfaction of duty fulfilled. "It's for Dad, Mom." For all of them. The conversation lingered with memories, gratitude, and the silent pride of a son carrying forward his father's values. By midnight, the cemetery was silent except for the lone sentinel. Michael's mind replayed the events. The confrontation at the bank, the nationwide attention, the recruits he trained, and the lives positively impacted. Each step forward, each pause, each rotation of the rifle was a reminder that legacy was not inherited. It was earned, maintained, and protected. And tonight, under the eternal flame, Michael Reynolds stood tall, sentinel, teacher, and guardian of honor.